Upon meeting Duan Chongqing again after my rebirth, I brought him soup just as I had in my past life. But this time, I didn't dodge the sudden kick from his beloved. The hot soup spilled all over him. Duan Chongqing helped me up with a sigh of relief, glad I hadn't reincarnated. I, however, was glad he hadn't discovered I had reincarnated too. Later, Duan Chongqing avenged all the wrongs from our past life and was about to marry the woman who had caused him such heartache. I, pretending to be deaf and dumb, gradually distanced myself from the palace city, that place of strife. On the day I persuaded my father to resign his post and leave the capital with our entire family, Duan Chongqing defied the imperial decree of arranged marriage. He blocked my carriage, his eyes reddened by the rain. He cursed me for cowardice, for lacking ambition. Yet in my past life, I had urged him to find strength, sought renowned physicians for him, navigated the palace's intrigues on his behalf. But he chose death instead. After the prince departed in that life, the empress feared you'd be lonely below. On the day of the prince's burial, I was buried alongside him. As I was nailed alive into the coffin, my spirit had long been consumed by that endless darkness. The agony of being dug out still seemed to linger on my fingertips. Yet the warmth of the soup in my hands reminded me I had returned to the very moment I first entered the palace. At that moment, Duan Chongqing was bent over, composing a poem to accompany Xie Shiji's painting. Sunlight fell upon Xie Shiji, yet Duan Chongqing's gaze burned more intensely than the rays themselves. More than simple affection, he looked upon her as a lost treasure finally recovered. Of course, his peripheral vision also caught sight of me nearby. In my past life, I might not have understood, but having accompanied Duan Chongqing for so many years, I knew clearly that he, like me, had been reborn. In this life, he still chose Xie Shiji, the unresolved grievance from his past life. Duan Chongqing, determined to reserve the position of primary wife for Xie Shiji, quarreled with the empress and would only marry me as a secondary consort. Yet later, he was framed and fell from his horse. Xie Shiji promptly married the rising sixth prince. Unresolved grievances remain unresolved, even when the one who never gave up on him was me. I carried the soup all the way to Duan Chongqing's side, lifting my head to pretend I hadn't seen Xie Shiji's outstretched foot. The hot soup splashed all over Duan Chongqing, instantly ruining the freshly written calligraphy. Xie Shiji beside him also had her robe stained by the hot soup, looking rather disheveled. The princes, princesses, and noble youths attending the class together all covered their mouths and giggled. Xie Shiji, ever concerned with appearances, was thoroughly enraged by my actions. Duan Chongqing, however, was good-natured as he helped me up. The palace is not the outside world. You mustn't act so recklessly again. His tone betrayed a sense of relief. I knew he was relieved I hadn't been reborn. In my past life, I avoided Xie Shiji, holding the soup and waiting for a full quarter of an hour. Duan Chongqing first inscribed a poem on her painting, then engaged her in a lengthy discussion of poetry and art. Only when Xie Shiji reminded him did he deign to glance her way. Amidst the murmurs and giggles of the crowd, he coldly remarked, "The soup has grown cold. Go report to Her Majesty that I shall not drink it." Indeed, Miss Song, Brother Chongqing values purity. How careless of you. Xie Shiji had frequented the palace since childhood. Her birth mother, Princess Chao, had nearly married into the imperial family. Even though fate ultimately kept them apart, the emperor showered Xie Shiji with affection, treating her like a daughter. This was precisely why the empress disliked Xie Shiji. Xie Shiji, accustomed to indulgence, clearly blamed me in her words. Duan Chongqing valued purity, Xie Shiji valued purity. Duan Chongqing knew Xie Shiji's preferences and habits well. Xie Shiji, of course, knew this too. So rather than blaming me, Her words were meant to remind Duan Chongging that she was displeased. Hurry and fetch a clean set of clothes for Miss Xia. Duan Chongging instructed the palace attendant, neglecting his own needs. Watching the attendant's hurried retreat, I was suddenly transported back to my past life. In that life, Duan Chongging loved attending banquets, and I was often tasked with organizing palace feasts. Back then, I thought he enjoyed the bustle. Later, I learned he only attended banquets where Xia Shiji was present. He didn't crave the commotion, he simply did it because Xia Shiji did. Duan Chongging had a gentle temperament. After marrying him, he treated me mostly with cold indifference, and we rarely argued. Only that one time did he fly into a rage, because I had forgotten to deliver the invitation to the flower viewing banquet to Xia Shiji. After scolding me, Duan Chongging personally took the invitation to the Xia residence. The palace attendants urged me to be magnanimous, asking why I would upset Duan Chongging over a mere flower viewing banquet. Everyone knew who held greater importance in his heart, me or Xia Shiji. Yet I, too, yearned to know the answer. News of me splashing hot soup on Duan Chongging and Xia Shiji spread swiftly. The Empress hurriedly summoned me. How careless! Was Chongging scalded? She conversed with her attendants, leaving me standing alone. Kneeling on the floor, my heart remained utterly still. In my past life, days like this were far too common. The Empress deemed me useless, unable to keep Duan Chongging's heart. Or perhaps she found me disappointing, having failed to bear even a single daughter. Even when Duan Chongging was framed and lost his leg, she blamed it on me. Now, as I am still only his secondary consort, she would not dare to be too harsh with me. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of a tall, slender figure. I spoke up to defend myself. It wasn't my carelessness. Xia Shiji deliberately stretched out her leg to trip me, causing this mess. The Empress's personal maids all exchanged knowing glances with me upon hearing this. I knew perfectly well that Duan Chongging had arrived. My words were meant for his ears alone. In my past life, I knew he was fond of Xia Shiji. Even when she repeatedly framed me, I never pursued it, much less brought the matter before Duan Chongging. Now, he pursues his own unresolved feelings, while I avoid my own plague. Wasn't Xia Shiji acting this way precisely because she knew the crown prince admired her? He who sows the wind shall reap the whirlwind. Enough! Duan Chongging snapped, cutting me off. I feigned shock, shrinking my shoulders and turning to face him, our eyes locking. Why would Shiji harm you for no reason? You can barely walk straight. Yet you blame her? His tone mirrored the scolding from my past life when I'd accidentally sent Xia Shiji an invitation. Perhaps fueled by the emotions of my past life, tears welled up effortlessly. Since the crown prince intends to shield Xia Shiji, I have nothing more to say. I lifted my chin, refusing to yield. Let whoever fancies it grovel and flatter to win his favor. It won't be me anymore. Before the Empress or Duan Chongging could speak, I rose and curtsied. I have matters to attend to at the mansion today. I shall pay my respects to Her Majesty the Empress another day. Duan Chongging watched Song Yunman rise and depart. She remained unbowed and unyielding, head held high, spine rigid. Only her departing steps betrayed a hint of something. I had thought the daughter of Minister Song would be suitable, but her nature is perhaps too straightforward. We shall observe further. Behind him, the Empress conversed with her maidservant, but Duan Chongging scarcely registered their words. To others, Song Yunman's gait might appear unchanged, but Duan Chongging knew her legs ached. That fall in the minister's study had indeed been severe. In his previous life, after his legs were crippled and he was confined to bed, the sight he witnessed most frequently was her daily comings and goings. Her footsteps, her posture, they were etched into his mind like indelible imprints. Impossible to shake. Perhaps she had just argued and refused to show weakness. Song Yunman had always been stubbornly strong-willed. Back then, even when everyone believed he had missed his chance at the throne, she never gave up. The household ran with impeccable order, servants faced punishment for even a hint of discouragement. Even after he became his father's discarded son, she still moved freely through the palace gates, assisting the empress in managing the inner court. Everyone in the palace admired her, and even the emperor once expressed regret for her situation. Thus, Duan Chongging saw nothing amiss. As for why Song Yunman had fallen this lifetime, he knew it was Xia Shiji's doing. It was only natural for a noble woman to understand the intrigues of the inner quarters. Blame fell solely on Song Yunman's lack of vigilance. Logically, Xia Shiji's jealousy over him should have pleased him. The Empress Dowager now looked down upon Song Yunman, which should have been a double blessing. Yet Duan Chongging's mood remained unexpectedly subdued, as if his thoughts were being drawn away by a figure about to vanish from sight. They had been husband and wife in a past life, after all, and he knew well the agony of a wounded leg. That was Duan Chongging's thought. After leaving the Empress's palace, he instructed his attendant, "Go see if Song Yunman has left the palace yet. If not, send her a sedan chair." Palace attendants hurriedly carried a sedan chair up to catch up. "Miss Song, this is the sedan chair sent by the Crown Prince. Seeing your difficulty walking." The lead attendant wiped sweat from his brow, speaking breathlessly. "It wasn't just him, I found it strange too. I had acted so convincingly. Yet Duan Chongging had seen through me. But why send me a sedan chair? Was he testing me?" A chill crept into my palms, and the suffocating sensation from my death in my previous life surged back. "I can walk on my own. Tell the Crown Prince I've endured enough humiliation and won't accept his apology. We just argued. I don't need to give him a way out. Besides, I don't need him to feel any affection for me anymore." As soon as I stepped out of the palace gates, I saw my parents waiting outside. "Xiao Man, we're so sorry you've been wronged. Let mother see, did you burn yourself?" They hurriedly pulled me close, their faces filled with concern. But my nose stung uncontrollably, blurring my vision. In my past life, had I not been consumed by my love for Duan Chongging and insisted on marrying into the imperial family, they wouldn't have had to worry about me in their golden years. "Look at you. Eyes already red. Did the Empress scold you?" Mother asked, her voice filled with heartache. "You shouldn't have let her go. This palace is a place that devours people. From now on, refuse any invitation from anyone in the palace. It's one thing that you fell ill fighting for the Emperor's cause. But do you want to cost my daughter her life too?" Mother, who'd fought alongside father for years, had a fiery temper that silenced him. "Mother, this isn't father's fault. It's my own foolishness. My stubborn insistence on going. I didn't mention my past life, unwilling to burden them with more worry. I dared not imagine how heartbroken they'd be if I were forced to be buried alive again. If entering the palace makes me unhappy, I won't go anymore. I'll find an excuse tomorrow to decline the position as a companion reader in the imperial study. Father has always doted on me. In my past life, he planned to resign his post and travel the mountains and rivers with mother. But because I chose to marry Duan Chongging, he was dragged into the vortex of power struggles. The palace isn't fun at all. When will father resign and take me and mother traveling? His Majesty has been assigning many tasks lately. Once things settle, I'll request to resign. You always brush me off. Yet when Xiao Man asks, you agree so readily. Mother teased with a smile. After all, father promised mother this. Naturally, I must oversee him. I took the words and made mother shake her head repeatedly. Once we leave the capital, with mountains high and roads far, all this will no longer concern me. The next day, Duan Chongging found no trace of Song Yunman in the imperial study. Before he could sit down, he overheard Xia Shiji discussing the matter with others. I heard that Song Yinman came down with a high fever last night. Probably scared herself silly after yesterday's incident. Maybe she just caught a chill. Don't go spreading rumors. What rumors? She slandered you before the Empress yesterday and got scolded by the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince is usually so gentle and courteous, that shows just how unreasonable Song Yunman was. Though Xie Shiji still cautioned the other tutors against wild speculation. The amusement in her eyes was impossible to hide. Fallen ill? Duan Chongjing recalled Song Yunman's straightened back as she left yesterday. She likely felt humiliated and just made up an excuse on the spot. After all, in her past life, she too had been so sensitive about her pride. Even when the imperial physicians were helpless, she refused to believe it. She sent people to seek out folk healers, never missing a single dose of medicine for him. Even when Duan Chongjing himself had given up, she would tirelessly encourage him. Sometimes, seeing him too despondent and defeated, she would even scold him. She'd tell him he lacked ambition, that he couldn't withstand adversity. Even when everyone waited to see her fail, she still appeared at court banquets with unmatched splendor. What she craved was the supreme power hidden deep within the palace gates. Marrying him was merely because he was once the most likely heir to the throne. But shouldn't she appear before him all the more now? In her past life, she never missed a single day of study. Wasn't it all to earn the Grand Tutor's praise and capture his attention? Could she truly be ill? That fiercely competitive woman from her past, could a few arguments with him really make her fall ill? Duan Chongjing pondered this, a strange irritation flaring within him, until Xie Shiji brought him back to his senses. Brother Chongjing, troubled by something? She frowned at him, her earlier smile fading slightly, perhaps from calling his name too many times. Just thinking about the task Father Emperor entrusted to me. Duan Chongjing's reply was somewhat perfunctory. Then it must be because His Majesty holds you in high regard. Xie Shiji's smile returned to its former brightness. Did Brother Chongjing really scold Miss Song until she cried yesterday? Does she hold a grudge against me because of it? Duan Chongjing suddenly recalled how, in his previous life, he and Song Yunman had fiercely argued over omitting Xie Shiji from the invitation list. After that, she fell gravely ill, and the flower viewing banquet she'd spent months planning was taken over by the Empress Dowager. As the daughter of a military commander, she had always been robust. This was the only memory Duan Chongjing had of her ever being sick. Today, not a single word the Grand Tutor spoke registered with Duan Chongjing. Xie Shiji had asked him to teach her calligraphy today, but he declined, citing prior commitments. The moment he stepped out of the palace gates, he headed straight for the Song residence. How could she have fallen ill so suddenly? Had he upset her? Or had she truly injured her leg, leaving her unable to walk? If her leg hurt, why had she refused to ride in a sedan chair yesterday? The attendant watched Duan Chongjing's hurried pace, puzzled but dared not ask. He'd scolded her just yesterday, yet now he'd sent for a sedan chair and was personally going to see her. Was he truly displeased? Or, Your Highness, look! Is that Miss Song? Before reaching the Song residence, the attendant spotted Song Yunman and hurriedly motioned Duan Chongjing to look outside. As soon as Duan Chongjing lifted the curtain, he saw Song Yunman chatting animatedly with her maid in the cosmetics shop. Her naturally fair complexion made the sunlight falling upon her seem softer. Standing among the crowd, she was dazzling, yet it stung Duan Chongjing's eyes. She was chatting and laughing with Shichuan while selecting hairpins, when she suddenly froze. Shichuan nudged me, signaling for me to turn around. Miss, that young master over there in the splendid robes is staring at you. I turned at the sound. It was Duan Chongjing. After all, he was a prince, basic courtesy was necessary. Your Highness. After nodding in acknowledgement, I turned back to continue selecting my hairpins. As for why he was here, I didn't care to know, nor was there any need to know. But Duan Chongjing approached. I heard Miss Song had been ill. You seem quite well now. It's nothing serious. Really. Just a condition where reading gives me headaches. Oh. Duan Chongging raised an eyebrow. Perhaps surprised I'd come up with such a half-hearted excuse. Reading gives you headaches. But buying jewelry doesn't. His smile turned cold. Inexplicably. What a pity. Jewelry doesn't suit Miss Song. I pressed the hairpin in my hand deeper into my palm, forcing myself to stay calm through the pain. Pearls don't suit you. Best not wear them anymore. Words from my past life echoed in my mind, bringing back the suffocating sensation of my final breath. Xia Shiji loved pearls. Duan Chongging knew this. After our marriage in that life, we met at a palace banquet. Both of us wore headdresses adorned with pearls as the main ornament. She leaned close to me, her tone tinged with regret. What a pity. Brother Chongging doesn't truly like pearls. He prefers women to wear jade ornaments. But I simply adore pearls. She turned away from me, her smile radiant. Brother Chongging, you've come too. Before I could respond, Xia Shiji looked past me toward Duan Chongging, who had appeared behind me unnoticed. Thank you for the pearl headdress you gave me. I love it. She tilted her head to look at him, as if they were the newlyweds. But when Duan Chongging turned to me, the tenderness in his eyes suddenly clouded. Back then, I didn't understand his mood. Not until the palace banquet began and we took our seats. Pearls don't suit you. You shouldn't wear them anymore. Only then did I realize he thought I was imitating Xia Shiji, that I was trying to copy her style. But I like pearls too. Why can't I like them just because Xia Shiji does? I never knew when your highness started meddling in what jewelry the capital's women wear. I handed the pearl hairpin to Shichuan. This one, I said. Have the shopkeeper wrap it up for me. Duan Chongging seemed taken aback by my reaction. Wearing something that doesn't suit you will only make you look ridiculous. His words seemed to carry hidden meaning. But I've already offended the Empress. I haven't provoked him further. Even the tutoring arrangement. Father found an excuse to decline. Now, the one deliberately entangling me is him. I've adored pearls since childhood. Dressing up is merely for my own pleasure. If your highness finds my pearl hairpin unsightly, I'll simply take a detour whenever I see you. That's all he wants to hear. Since he wished to hear it, I granted his wish. After lingering so long, my body grew weary. Having recently recovered from illness, this humble maiden takes her leave and shall not accompany your highness further. With that, I pulled Shichuan toward the carriage without a backward glance. So that was the crown prince. Shichuan only knew I'd faced difficulties from Duan Chongging after entering the palace. She'd never seen him. He truly possessed noble bearing, the very image of imperial lineage. Pity he spoke with such excessive sensitivity. Shichun fumed. My lady looks absolutely stunning in pearls. Shichun's words made me laugh. If only I'd listened to you sooner. In my past life, I was blinded by Duan Chongging's noble grace and refined aloofness, charging headlong into a brick wall without a second thought. So even when everyone thought my efforts were futile, I never lost heart. Even if Duan Chongging could never walk again, I believed he deserved another chance. I naively thought that as long as I didn't give up, anything was possible. But in the end, it was human hearts that proved impossible to reconcile. Only then did I realize how foolish my past choices had been. Duan Chongging was never worth my love. Don't worry, miss. You're still unmarried. There are many fine young men in the capital waiting for you. Shichuan, unaware of past lives, comforted me. Very well. When the time comes, I'll find you a good family too. Best of all, our husbands' homes would be close by. That way, we could gather together every day. Miss, I was clearly trying to comfort you. Yet you're joking about it. How so? Teasing and bantering with Shichuan all the way. We arrived home before we knew it. Xiao Man, what happy news have you encountered today? Father teased, seeing the many things I'd bought. I was just thinking our family is preparing to travel. So I bought extra supplies for the journey. Father's expression darkened upon hearing this. Xiao Man, I'm afraid this matter will have to be postponed for a while longer. I knew exactly what father meant. Qi State had been restless lately, and His Majesty intended to strike first. In my past life, father had been gravely wounded in that very battle, barely escaping death. It was through that military merit that His Majesty had arranged my marriage to Duan Chongging. I urged father to resign his post early, precisely to prevent such a tragedy from repeating. But in the end, it was too late. His Majesty had already made plans for Qi State. You let others do the dangerous work while you can't even speak up for your own pleasures. You deserve it. Though mother scolded me, her eyes betrayed clear worry. Has the emperor ever failed to bestow favors upon me? Just look, for this Mid-Autumn Palace banquet. He specifically ordered me to bring Xiao Man. Father, I shall not attend this banquet. It's best to avoid causing further trouble and displeasing the emperor. I always thought it was the empress who brought me to the palace in my past life. But today it's clear the sage was the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. Fine. If Xiao Man doesn't want to go, she won't. Father always indulged me and didn't press further. The Mid-Autumn Palace banquet in my past life was also my ambush. The sage invited me to the palace to meet Duan Chongging, intending to appease father, who was preparing for war, by winning my favor. This move undoubtedly provoked Xia Shiji. During her dance performance, Xia Shiji was stung by poisonous bees, and I was accused of harming her. The reason? The honey scent on my body matched the one on her dress exactly. But that honey had been deliberately rubbed onto me by Xia Shiji when she provoked me upon my entry into the palace. Fortunately, I had brought a bottle of locust blossom honey with me, completely different from Xia Shiji's floral honey, giving me grounds to defend myself. Though I was later cleared of suspicion. And the emperor, empress, and all the noble guests believed me. Duan Chongging alone insisted that the locust honey was merely my backup plan to escape blame, using it to make Xia Shiji a laughingstock before everyone. He pitted Xia Shiji, convinced I was cunning and malicious. Yet clearly, I was the most pitiable one. That locust honey was actually meant for Duan Chongging. Before the banquet, I had encountered him outside the palace. His eyes were bloodshot, and his voice was slightly hoarse as he spoke with others. Locust honey has calming and lung-moistening properties. For Duan Chongging, it couldn't have been more fitting. This lifetime, I no longer wished to share my life with him. There was no need to waste the locust honey I'd worked so hard to make. Duan Chongging emerged from the imperial study, deep in thought. Just as in my past life, the emperor was preparing to march against the state of Qi. Having lived this life twice, Duan Chongging knew exactly how that previous war had been won. He did not want Minister Song to earn military merit and have the emperor arrange a marriage between him and Song Yunman. Yet Duan Chongging also knew the emperor would never permit him to lead the troops alone. Thus, he requested to accompany the expedition. The emperor was somewhat surprised but ultimately agreed. Before departure, the emperor reminded him not to be too harsh with Song Yunman lately. After all, they still needed Minister Song to command the troops, especially since their quarrels were now common knowledge in this lifetime. Even if the emperor hadn't said anything, Duan Chongging would keep a close eye on her. At the Mid-Autumn Palace banquet in his previous life, she had deliberately provoked poisonous bees to sting Xia Shiji. This time, he would personally watch Song Yunman closely, ensuring she caused no more trouble. Yet Duan Chongging waited and waited at his seat. He waited for the Minister of Rites and his wife to take their places. Waited for the banquet to begin. But Song Yunman never appeared. Was she not coming again? In his previous life, she'd schemed relentlessly, bringing 2 types of honey to frame Xia Shiji and then clear herself of suspicion. Could it be that she'd gotten angry after exchanging a few words when he'd bumped into her buying a jeweled hairpin that day? In his previous life, Song Yunman hadn't seemed like the petty type. Amidst the clinking cups and merry music, Duan Chongjing felt like an outsider. When he snapped back to reality, Xia Shiji had just finished her dance, showered with praise. Yet he stared blankly at her gaze, offering no response. Only the butterflies resting on her shoulders captured his attention. Duan Chongjing belatedly realized that this time, instead of attracting poisonous bees, he had drawn colorful butterflies. The butterflies fluttered gracefully, dancing with the beauty, like celestial maidens descended to earth. Finding butterflies at this time of year was no easy feat. Xia Shiji had clearly gone to some trouble. Brother Chongjing, do you like it? Duan Chongjing's thoughts were interrupted. As he lowered his gaze, his eyes met Xia Shiji's. Her lively almond-shaped eyes gazed at him, illuminated by the lamp, filling his entire vision. The Duan Chongjing of the past would have been utterly captivated by the scene. But in this moment, Duan Chongjing thought of his previous life. The poisonous bees of his past life should, logically, be as rare as butterflies at this time of year. If one could catch butterflies, then poisonous bees should be just as easy. But where butterflies could be lured, so too could poisonous bees. Only then did Duan Chongjing realize. Truthfully, he enjoyed Xia Shiji's affection for him. Xia Shiji had never lacked suitors. Duan Chongjing was far from the only prince vying for her attention. In his past life, Xia Shiji had cared for him largely because of his legitimate birth and the emperor's favor. Duan Chongjing knew this. Yet he accepted it willingly. He had once truly liked Xia Shiji, unlike other princes and nobles who coveted her status and the emperor's favor. Duan Chongjing's affection was genuine. But now, without his own awareness, he had quietly appended the word once to that sincerity. Duan Chongjing's thoughts turned inappropriately to Song Yunman. At the Mid-Autumn Palace banquet in his past life, traces of the same honey had been found on her garments. She had defended herself by claiming she carried an additional bottle of locust blossom honey. If she truly intended to frame Xia Shiji, why would she need two different kinds of honey? The emperor had believed her then. Duan Chongjing had thought she deliberately exonerated herself, and that the emperor had sacrificed Xia Shiji to curry favor with Minister Song. But now, he understood the trace of distaste he had glimpsed in his father's eyes back then. At the time, Duan Chongjing had thought that emotion was directed at Song Yunman. Now he realized the emperor had long seen through Xia Shiji. No matter how much the emperor favored her, he remained a sage ruler. Before the empire and its people, personal affection was insignificant. The emperor disliked Xia Shiji because she had nearly ruined everything. That was all. Duan Chongjing struggled to recall what other kind of flower nectar had been found on Song Yunman in his past life. He only remembered she had stored it in an exquisitely crafted porcelain bottle. When she brought it out before everyone, she held it with both hands, treating it with the utmost care, as if she were holding some rare treasure. Even mother praised you. So naturally you danced exceptionally well. Duan Chongjing didn't say whether he liked it or not, nor did he directly offer praise. He didn't see the light slowly fading from Xia Shiji's eyes. His mind was entirely occupied with wondering what kind of nectar Song Yunman had brought in his previous life. Duan Chongjing truly had forgotten. Or rather, he hadn't paid attention to it in his past life. What kind of nectar could it have been? Why had she gone to such lengths to bring it into the palace and guard it so preciously? He found no answers. So much so that after the palace banquet ended, he tossed and turned, unable to sleep. He dreamt of his past life. After marrying Song Yunman, he was schemed against, crippled from the waist down, confined to bed, listless and dejected. Memories played out in his dreams, suffocating him. He dreamt of Song Yunman tending to him, never missing a day. The medicine was bitter, and he refused to drink it. It wasn't that he disliked the taste, he was merely angry at himself. The imperial physicians had all declared there was no cure. Why invite disappointment? He was angry at himself. And he hated Song Yunman. When he held promise of becoming heir apparent, she had forced him to marry her. When his claim to the throne faded, she still refused to let him go. All for the impossible, the imperial throne and power. Was she not, like him, fallen to rock bottom? But Song Yunman was stubbornly strong. She refused to bow her head, and in doing so, forced him to straighten his spine, long bent by despair. In their past life, those days had turned them into bitter companions. Duan Chongjing hated everything about Song Yunman, except for the locust blossom honey water she sent him daily. Every autumn, his throat would grow uncomfortable. To the outside world, it merely appeared as a hoarse voice. So few knew of this ailment. After drinking the tea mixed with locust blossom honey, he always felt considerably better. Sweet and warm. It soothed his soul. It was the one thing he never refused back then. What began as a nightmare eventually became something he didn't want to wake from. Sleeping soundly until dawn. When Duan Chongjing awoke, he knew the answer. At the Mid-Autumn Palace banquet in his past life, Song Yunman had brought locust blossom honey. It was for him. Perhaps after feigning illness too many times, heaven took pity and sent me menstruation instead, pain so intense I couldn't rise from bed. Miss, you should drink this medicine quickly. Otherwise, the pain may linger longer. Shi Chuan, who knew my aversion, brought the medicine before me. The scent alone made me nauseous. I pushed the medicine away. Drink it even if it makes you sick. If you don't take care of your health, how will you travel with us in the future? Mother entered and said, Father still can't resign from his post. Then you must prepare for the future. Mother tapped my brow, took the medicine from Shichuan's hands, and fed it to me. Right. Speaking of preparing for the future, Father's military campaign certainly requires foresight. This time Father is marching against Qi. Will Mother accompany him as she did before? What? You want to go too? Mother saw right through my thoughts. Your daughter has grown up and wishes to share Father's burdens. Besides, I've never seen the borderlands in all my years. You were born on the battlefield, the frontier was the first sight you ever saw. That was ages ago. Fine. Fine. I suppose you can go. But you'll stay put within the city walls. Don't even think about taking Father's place in battle. Mother fought alongside Father for years, so she doesn't object to me accompanying him. Now, you'd better drink this medicine like a good girl. Once we're at the frontier, I won't have time to fuss over you. Listen to Mother. I nodded and obediently opened my mouth to take the medicine. I only knew the broad outline of Father's injury from my past life. To truly stop it, I must go myself to be at ease. By the way, when we left the palace earlier, the Crown Prince specifically asked why you were absent. Mother suddenly mentioned Duan Chongjing, and I nearly choked. What's wrong with you? She stroked my back. What exactly happened that day? Why such a strong reaction whenever his name comes up? I shook my head. It's just that this man seems to haunt me relentlessly. I simply find him terrifying. The day I entered the palace, he shielded Xia Shiji. She clearly tripped me, yet he reprimanded me without hearing both sides. And just the other day when buying the pearl hairpin, he said I wasn't worthy of pearls. Now he comes pretending to care about me. He must know the sage is preparing to let Father lead the troops. Mother listened to my words and nodded with satisfaction. Xiao Man has grown up. Miss. The Crown Prince heard you were ill and sent many things. Early the next morning, Shichuan woke me with her voice. Just convey my thanks. Tell him I'm unwell and prefer not to express gratitude in person. Such things weren't unheard of in my past life either. Duan Chongjing, out of deference to His Majesty, would casually send servants with gifts. In my past life, I foolishly opened each one to inspect. Even bystanders could see it was mere perfunctory courtesy. Yet I still naively comforted myself, we'd met so rarely. He couldn't possibly know my preferences. Yet after our marriage, he still didn't know I loved pearls. "Miss, shouldn't you go take a look?" Shichuan murmured, clearly finding Duan Chongging's behavior unusual. "It's just the same old things. We have plenty of those in the manor. He's putting on a show for the sage. Your reaction proves his act is working." I shook my head. In this life, Duan Chongging did show a bit more concern than in the past. But it was only a bit, whether it was a test or something else remained to be seen. After that, I prepared to accompany father on his military campaign, spending most days confined to the manor. Forget entering the palace, I scarcely even stepped outside the gates. Until the emperor's edict summoning father to battle arrived. Alongside the imperial decree came news that Duan Chongging would accompany the army. It was expected. After all, he too had been reborn. Such a golden opportunity. He wouldn't let slip through his fingers. Nor would he allow father to use military merit as leverage to force him into marrying me. This was for the best. With others charging into battle, father wouldn't risk injury. Father and mother forbade me from going to the military camp, having already secured a residence for me within the city walls. In my past life, to avoid alerting the enemy, father had stationed the army within the city first. Little did we know assassins from the Qi kingdom had already infiltrated the city, seizing the chance to strike at father. Later, to prevent panic among the troops, father fought on despite his injuries, which ultimately ruined his health. From that day onward, father had to rely on medicinal soups to sustain his life. I do not know where the spy was hiding, father never revealed this to me in my past life either. I only know the spy struck 5 days before the campaign, disguised as a commoner during father's inspection rounds. After the attack, the spy poisoned themselves, severing all leads. The spy had thoroughly studied father's routines after his arrival in the city, proving they had deep connections within. Choosing assassination means the spy hasn't infiltrated the barracks yet. Before I uncover the spy, I can only warn father and mother to be extra cautious. "Miss, the lady clearly told you to stay indoors more often and avoid going out." Shichuan was worried seeing me out wandering for days straight. How can I know where danger lurks and where safety lies without exploring? Until the assassin is found, I cannot rest easy. But miss, a figure flashed past us, and I quickly shushed Shichuan with a finger to my lips. "Miss, you actually came out too." Shichuan choked on the word man and swallowed it back, her face flushing crimson. "You return first. I'll follow alone." Shichuan lacks martial training and would be easily detected. "Miss, I know my limits. Besides, take another look, who is that man?" Shichun squinted toward the figure and shook his head. "It's the crown prince." Though Duan Chongging had disguised himself, having pursued him for so many years in my past life, a single silhouette was enough for me to recognize him. Spies are hard to find. But Duan Chongging is not. He likely knew more about the hidden truths I'd been unaware of in my past life. More importantly, his desire for military merit and his urgency to find the spy surpassed my own. I followed Duan Chongging all the way to a bookstore called Spring Radiance Pavilion. Though the shop's location was somewhat secluded, it was bustling with customers. Customers came and went, chatting and laughing with the proprietor. I ordered a bowl of noodles at the noodle stall outside the bookshop, counting the time since Duan Chongging had entered. He emerged empty-handed, having bought no books. After Duan Chongging left, I leisurely finished my noodles and entered Spring Radiance Pavilion myself. The moment I stepped inside, I sensed every person there watching me, openly or surreptitiously. "Miss, what books might you like to purchase?" The proprietor moved with such lightness it seemed he teleported beside me. But martial artists recognize this as a sign of exceptional lightness skills. I'm looking for some popular storybooks. I wonder if such a remote place might have them. I wore a look of disdain, revealing first that I wasn't from around here. The capital's accent differed from the frontier towns, hiding it only aroused the spy's suspicion. All the storybooks are here. Take your time, young lady. The shopkeeper visibly relaxed. I glanced around and casually flipped through 2 volumes. Nothing but stale, outdated tales. The capital had abandoned such trash centuries ago. All because of father, who arranged this wretched marriage so early. I haven't even entered the door yet, and I'm already nearly suffocating in here. I feigned anger and left, buying several things along the way to throw off any potential tale. Only after confirming no one was following me did I dare return home. The Spring Sunshine Pavilion was indeed where Qi Kingdom spies were hiding. But I couldn't act rashly. I didn't want to arouse Duan Chongging's suspicion. Nor did I want to be tied to him over this matter again. All I could do now was wait. Duan Chongging needed concrete evidence to dismantle Spring Sunshine Pavilion. Without it, even if father and the city guards trusted him, reports reaching the capital would be twisted by censors into accusations of arbitrary violence and innocent bloodshed. The other princes would pounce like jackals smelling blood, waiting for their chance. For several days, Duan Chongging lingered near Chunhui Pavilion without making his next move. It wasn't until the 7th day since father's assassination attempt in his previous life that I spent an entire day watching from a tea house not far from Chunhui Pavilion, yet Duan Chongging never appeared. The plot by Qi spies to assassinate father must have been orchestrated by higher-ups. But the border city was heavily guarded, even overt correspondence was scrutinized. If Duan Chongging wanted evidence, he could only intercept Qi's letters within these next 2 days. He had to come today. I switched to a nearby inn to continue my surveillance. Sure enough, as dusk approached, the Spring Radiance Pavilion's proprietor left. He carefully surveyed the surroundings before departing. Shortly after he left, I spotted Duan Chongging. He followed alone. Miss, it seems the Crown Prince is ready to apprehend the spy. Shall we return? Shi Chuan urged. If Duan Chongging truly secures the evidence and captures the spy smoothly, that would be ideal. Yet, this all feels far too convenient. If Qi's spies were truly so easily exposed, the provincial capital of the border city in my past life wouldn't have gone years without uncovering a single one. My intuition tells me this isn't that simple. Though I'd feel a sense of satisfaction if Duan Chongging were to die. It can't be now. The prince being killed by a spy would inevitably shake the morale of the troops. Furthermore, His Majesty would surely hold father accountable. Shi Chuan. This is far from straightforward. Go to the barracks immediately and inform father and mother. I'll follow shortly. Miss. Shi Chuan. This isn't merely about my safety, it concerns the lives of our soldiers. Therefore, you must do as I say. I clasped Shi Chuan's hand, urging her to stay calm. Duan Chongging had assumed everything would proceed smoothly. So smoothly he could handle it all himself. In his previous life, he discovered the hiding places of Qi's spies through files submitted from the border city. Find the evidence. Then have the provincial government send men to destroy them. Capturing spies would be a major achievement, making future battles much easier. Most importantly, he would earn the respect of his soldiers. Though Duan Chongging had lived and eaten alongside them these past days, he still hadn't fully integrated. The soldiers continued to regard him as a high and mighty prince, one who only understood theory and refused to take his commands. How could he earn merit without authority in the army? Naturally, Duan Chongging wasn't foolish enough to go alone, his secret guards followed closely behind. But he hadn't anticipated that the Qi spies had already set an ambush. After leaving the city, he lost track of the bookstore proprietor, and the secret guards sent to investigate vanished without a trace. By the time Duan Chongging realized something was amiss, Qi's spies had already closed in. This spot lay right at the border between the two nations. There was nowhere to turn for help, and the enemy vastly outnumbered them. It was a dead end. In that moment of desperate agony, arrows whistled through the air. Each strike was lethal, carving a path for Duan Chongging. As the final arrow struck the spy behind him, Duan Chongging saw the face of the archer. A young girl, bow in hand, leapt down from the tree. The last rays of the setting sun bathed her face. Only one thought filled Duan Chongging's mind as he walked toward her, toward the last glimmer of the setting sun. Just like those final years of his past life, when he lay in bed, idle and dazed, wasting away his days. Beyond the window that let in the light of day, she was his only constant. He thought he longed for locust blossom honey, but it was her he truly missed. In his past life, she was the one who found him in the darkness. In this life, she was the one who saved him when his life hung in the balance. Alongside Song Yunman came reinforcements. They swarmed forward, capturing several spies alive. Duan Chongging knew these were the reinforcements Song Yunman had called. He didn't want to know when she'd learned of this. He only wanted to walk to her side. "Your Highness, are you seriously injured?" the arriving deputy commander asked Duan Chongging. Duan Chongging waved his hand. "Minor wounds. Nothing to worry about. Keep a close watch on those spies. Don't give them any chance to take their own lives." "Understood." The deputy commander exhaled in relief. His gaze toward Duan Chongging now tinged with added respect. Everything unfolded as Duan Chongging had anticipated. But without Song Yunman, he was nothing. Shaking off the deputy commander, he finally had the chance to approach her. Song Yunman was bandaging her wound. Her maid stood nearby, frowning, while she herself wore a relaxed smile. "You're injured?" Looking closely, the wound was on her hand, likely caused by the force of drawing the bow earlier. The bow and arrows from earlier were crude, hastily purchased from a hunter in the heat of the moment. The maid's gaze toward him was like that of a startled bird, while Song Yunman replied softly, "Just a superficial wound. Thank you for today. Protecting your highness is father's duty. And mine too. I only hope your highness won't act on your own next time, lest we alert the enemy prematurely." Her tone was stern, tinged with lecturing, just like when she'd admonished him in his past life. The difference was, Duan Chongging didn't feel annoyed. "This was my misjudgment. Upon returning to the capital, I shall personally apologize to His Majesty." For the first time, he yielded to her words. Yet she didn't respond, letting his words fall unanswered as she sank into silence. "The gifts I sent earlier, I wonder if they pleased you." Duan Chongging's heart raced. He found himself anticipating her response more than he'd anticipated. He had sent her many pearls. He had given her the entire pearl storehouse. During his recent illness, he had sent servants to handle the matter. "I never personally thanked your highness. That was my oversight." Her smile was distant, her words cold as water, drenching him from head to toe. "Father and mother were furious that I followed Duan Chongging without permission, though they understood my reasons. No parent wants their child to face danger. I was ordered back to the capital to recuperate. The spy was captured, and Chunhui Pavilion sealed. Father's assassination attempt will never happen again. Duan Chongging knows the events of my past life and now commands the army's loyalty. This battle will not be difficult." With nothing left to worry about, I had no reason to remain in the frontier city. Before I knew it, the day of triumph arrived, and the emperor bestowed rewards for meritorious service. Duan Chongging had infiltrated enemy lines to uncover Qi spies, then repeatedly offered ingenious strategies that led to decisive victories over the Qi army. The emperor rewarded him generously, enfeoffing him as a prince and granting him a mansion, making him even more prominent than before. This should have had nothing to do with me. Yet the emperor had other intentions. I repeatedly declined invitations to court banquets. prompting the palace to even dispatch physicians to treat me. Endless streams of medicinal herbs were bestowed upon me. Impossible to refuse. Even in my reluctance, I could not repeatedly dampen the emperor's spirits. Thus, during the autumn hunt, I encountered Duan Chongqing once more. Counting the days, in my past life, we were already married by this time. We had quarreled and faced each other with cold stares. Everyone knew I had finally married him, saying only that I was blessed. But that ended today. On this day in my past life, Duan Chongqing encountered a mountain tiger while hunting. His horse, startled, threw him. From that day on, the eldest prince of the imperial bloodline ceased to exist. Only the pitted, disgraced son of the sage remained. In this life, Duan Chongqing has earned military merit. The plot to frame him will surely unfold again. How he handles it is none of my concern. What do you want? Xiaoman? Father will hunt it for you. Father knows I didn't want to come. Worried I'd be unhappy. Mother fears the cold. Father should hunt a fox to make her a shawl. But my mind isn't on the hunt. I only wish to avoid anything connected to Duan Chongqing. Miss Song. As I prepared to mount my horse, a familiar voice called out from behind. Turning at the sound, I saw Duan Chongqing standing with Xia Shiji. A certain distance between them. How is the wound on your hand? Duan Chongqing asked, extending his hand toward me. It's been so long. It's long since healed. I didn't take his hand, leaving it suspended in midair. I heard it was Miss Song who saved His Highness. I thank you on his behalf. Xia Shiji interjected, her eyes blazing with jealousy. Speaking of thanks, I haven't personally thanked you yet. What do you desire today? I'll hunt it for you. Duan Chongqing withdrew his hand and stepped forward. His tone still gentle, paying Xia Shiji no mind. I suddenly recalled a past life, he had said those exact words. But they were meant for Xia Shiji. He abandoned me to accompany Xia Shiji, only to fall from his horse and become crippled while shielding her from a fierce tiger. Now he goes out of his way to please me, truly baffling. Not necessary. I dislike taking life. I merely wish to ride within the enclosure myself. Lest I spoil the prince and Miss Xia's enjoyment. Perhaps sensing my coldness, Duan Chongqing made no further demands. He walked swiftly, paying no heed to Xia Shiji trailing behind. Father had gone to attend the sage, leaving me with rare leisure. I decided to ride my horse alone within the enclosure. But as I ventured deeper, I sensed something amiss with the horse. Though still under my control, it was noticeably more agitated than usual. My thoughts drifted to my past life, Duan Chongqing encountering the tiger. His horse startled. That incident had seemed truly abnormal back then. Everyone assumed someone had lured a fierce tiger, but no one ever considered the horse itself. The only person who would want to harm me now was Xia Shiji. It seemed the events of my past life were far more complex than I had imagined. I immediately dismounted, leaving the horse behind as I turned back. But after taking only a few steps, I heard the footsteps of wild beasts. The good news was they didn't sound like a tiger or other major predator. The bad news was they were a pack. By the time I drew my bow and arrow, the wolves were already upon me, eyeing me hungrily. My horse was long gone. No matter how skilled my archery, I couldn't outnumber a pack of wolves. Someone shot an arrow before I could, drawing the pack's attention. Without hesitation, I joined him in firing at the wolves. But arrows eventually ran out. The alpha wolf seemed to sense my predicament and lunged at me. I drew my dagger just as a figure flashed before my eyes. The blade never drew blood, instead, I held the person in my arms. A scorching nose and warm blood fell together. I looked up to see the alpha wolf clamped its jaws firmly onto his shoulder. I swiftly pulled my hand back and thrust the dagger into its head. Filthy blood and fresh blood soaked through his outer garment. Only then did I get a clear look at his face. He bore a resemblance to Duan Chongqing. Yet his brows and eyes were sharper and more piercing. If Duan Chongqing was a gentleman as gentle as jade, the man before me was a fearsome demon king. I never imagined my savior would be the sixth prince, Duan Changye, the ultimate victor in the previous dynasty's succession struggle, and also Xia Shiji's husband. Before I could ponder further, he whistled to summon his horse. The alpha wolf's death left the pack leaderless and panicked. Duan Changye hoisted me onto his horse. The pack will avenge their leader. Hold tight. With that, they galloped back toward the crowd, wind whipping around them. Only after escaping the wolves did I notice Duan Changye's wound remained untreated. Blood had soaked through, staining my back crimson. Your Highness, please bandage that first, I said guiltily, reaching to bandage him. Duan Changye evaded my touch. I'm fine. Don't soil your hands. Today's events were thanks to your Highness. A wolf bite could be serious. Bandage it first and send for the imperial physician to treat you. Only after my repeated insistence did Duan Changye agree. What happened earlier? I won't speak of it. Miss Song needn't worry. It took me a moment to realize he was referring to shielding me with his body to save me. He likely feared rumors unfavorable to both of us if word spread. I was somewhat surprised, for the Duan Changye of today was still merely a prince born to a lowly mother, not yet favored by the sage emperor as he had been in my previous life. He craved power more than Duan Chongqing, yet he chose to keep me silent. I felt touched, yet also puzzled. After all, Duan Changye grew up in the palace, a world of deceit and scheming. He couldn't be without his own designs. Thank you, Your Highness, for keeping my secret, whether it's genuine or calculated. I didn't want to offend Duan Changye, nor did I wish to become too deeply entangled with him. After spending time with him today, I found he wasn't as unapproachable as he had been in my previous life. That was the only thing I could be certain was genuine. Duan Changye wasn't favored. The emperor only learned of his injury after discovering I had nearly been harmed. The emperor urgently summoned physicians from Duan Chongqing's quarters. Upon inquiry, it became clear that Duan Chongqing had indeed encountered the same incident from my past life today. Having lived through it once before, he only sustained minor injuries this time. The difference from my previous life was that the injury was merely a pretext. The true goal was to expose the mastermind behind it. It turned out the second prince was responsible, having smeared a drug that drives beasts mad onto the saddle. This served two purposes: first, to make the horse abnormally agitated, and second, to lure wild beasts into attacking. My horse, being near Duan Chongqing's, also came into contact with the powder, suffering an undeserved calamity. The matter was far from simple. But now was not the time for the truth to come to light. My near-fatal encounter with wolves during the autumn hunt undoubtedly heightened my parents' fears that the power struggle might involve me. Father resigned his post before His Majesty, intending to return to the ancestral home first, waiting until the following spring to take mother on a journey. The sage was naturally pleased to regain military control and no longer pressed me to enter the palace and choose a prince as husband. Thus, the position of Prince Duan Chongqing's consort fell to Xia Shiji. This suited me perfectly. I wonder what Duan Chongqing's reaction will be when he learns Xia Shiji was fully aware of the second prince's schemes during the autumn hunt. The unresolved grievance he's pursued across 2 lifetimes is, in truth, the root of his suffering. Let the villains tear each other apart, no need for me to lift a finger. On the day the imperial decree granting Duan Chongqing and Xia Shiji's marriage arrived, heavy rain poured down on the capital. Though my parents planned to delay our departure, I could bear no further waiting. Yet even in haste, we couldn't evade an unwelcome visitor. Duan Chongqing blocked my carriage, standing in the downpour. His eyes were reddened by the rain. What are you doing, Your Highness? Today the emperor bestowed this marriage decree. You were in the palace expressing gratitude. Why are you stopping my carriage? I pulled back the curtain, utterly bewildered. You know perfectly well why. He smiled bitterly. You don't want to come down? You don't want them all to know about my past life with you. Enough. I cut him off, motioning for Shichuan to fetch an umbrella before pulling him aside. Your Highness. Speak your mind here. I must press on, my parents await me ahead. Duan Chang'an was soaked through, rainwater streaming down his clothes, leaving him utterly bedraggled. The autumn rain carried a chill, freezing his eyes crimson at the corners. Where are you going? He asked me. Leaving the capital. Not coming back? No. I won't return. He gripped my shoulders, the chill from his palms seeping through the rain-soaked fabric. Why? You're so cowardly in this new life? What did you say about me in the past? Will you just watch them bask in glory while you hide far away? I didn't hear a word of what he said afterward. It was always the same. Nothing but accusations of weakness, of lacking ambition. After the prince departed in my past life, the empress feared you'd be lonely below. On the day of the prince's burial, I was buried alongside him, nailed alive into the coffin. I slowly approached death in endless darkness. I met his shocked gaze. Tell me, who should I seek vengeance from? He released his grip and stumbled back 2 steps. Impossible. I clearly instructed Mother. To restore your freedom. Freedom? I laughed aloud. How many widowed women truly regain their freedom? Could the prince really be unaware? In my past life, I urged you to find strength. Yet you still chose death. The prince should know how difficult it is to turn someone back. Yun Man. He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I truly didn't know. I was wrong. Will you forgive me? Let us begin anew in this life. Your Imperial Highness. I've been searching everywhere for you. His Majesty summons you to the palace. Should he learn you've been pursuing Miss Song here? He would surely be displeased. Duan Changye's arrival brought me unmistakable relief. However defiant Duan Chang'an might be, he cannot defy the emperor, after all. He remains merely a prince. Yun Man. I'll come for you once matters are settled. Duan Chang'an left reluctantly after leaving those words. Though I hadn't expected Duan Changye to arrive, at least I'd escaped Duan Chang'an. What Duan Chang'an must resolve extends far beyond marrying Xie Shiji. This lifetime, he may have evaded the second prince's trap. But what follows will never be as it was before. Without the foresight of past lives, whether he can reach the end remains uncertain. Besides, who said I've given up on revenge? Xie Shiji. Empress, every single deed from past and present lives. I'll settle the score. The Holy Emperor remains unaware of the Empress's scheming to tear apart his bond with Xie Shiji's mother. But having frequented the palace in my past life, I know the truth. With a little manipulation, the Holy Emperor will naturally piece it together. And this is only the beginning. Having reigned as the Empress for years, she has committed many sordid deeds and made countless enemies. I will deliver the evidence to her adversaries, someone will surely deal with her. As for Xie Shiji, Duan Chang'an will handle her. After defying the imperial decree, Duan Chang'an now faces consecutive crises with his birth mother and betrothed. He'll likely be overwhelmed. One who retreats at the first sign of trouble, relying on a prophet to turn the tide, such a man is utterly unfit to be heir apparent. In my past life, I misjudged him. This time, I shall not repeat that mistake. I will never wade through the murky waters of this capital a second time. I heard you were leaving the capital today, so I came to see you off. Duan Changye snapped me back to reality. His words were brief and hurried, as if afraid I might lose patience. It was my fault for not bidding His Highness farewell. I couldn't quite grasp his intentions. After the autumn hunt, our paths would never cross again. And now I'm merely the daughter of a commoner, hardly someone worth associating with. I know you didn't want to say goodbye. And I know you never liked the capital. Duan Changye smiled, a hint of bitterness flickering in his eyes. In my past life, I'd met him only a handful of times. I remembered him always wearing a cold expression, an aura of lethal intent surrounding him that kept others at bay. The capital is no place for you. You will get your wish. Duan Changye said this. I was surprised. He seemed to see right through my thoughts. As if he were a long-time confidant. He was right, I truly wished to leave the capital. Once. Blinded by my own infatuation. I loved the wrong person. Like gazing at the moon. I saw only its brilliance. Unaware of its distant, icy coldness. I gambled my entire life on loving someone unworthy of my devotion. Your Highness. I shall forever remember your kindness. Should the chance arise, I will repay you. I believe you too will have your wish granted. I returned his words with a smile, though I knew not his specific wish. As a prince, it likely concerned the imperial throne. In my past life, Duan Changye faced no rivals by the end. Already the predetermined heir apparent. Duan Changing only learned Song Yunman had been reborn after that autumn hunt. He hadn't expected her to be nearly mauled by wolves in an ambush. Nor that her savior would be the sixth prince. In his previous life, Duan Changye had married Xia Shiji, defeated all the other princes, and was already the designated heir apparent. Song Yunman had no connection whatsoever with Duan Changye in her previous life, she didn't even like him. Yet seeing the two of them standing together, Duan Changing couldn't help but overthink. He began recalling the events after his rebirth when he met Song Yunman. She was vastly different from her past self. She no longer pursued him relentlessly. Not since she'd splashed soup on him in the imperial study. Was it merely because of that argument? They'd quarreled over Xia Shiji in his previous life too. Yet she'd never treated him with such coldness. She'd even begun avoiding him, refusing to enter the palace. Duan Changing had assumed Song Yunman saved him because she cared. But now it seemed that wasn't entirely the case. She seemed aware of his pursuit of the spy. Yet the Chi spy had been so well hidden in his past life that detection proved nearly impossible. After ruling out every possibility, only the outcome Duan Changing dreaded most remained. Song Yunman had also been reborn, and she no longer wished to marry him. But in this life, he hadn't treated her with such coldness again. He clearly still loved her. Yet she rejected him. The Song Yunman from his past life, the one who stood steadfast by his side even when everyone else had abandoned him, looked down on him, was gone. Time and again he reached out. Time and again she pulled away. All that remained was perfunctory interaction and growing distance. Duan Changing suddenly felt that even when his legs were crippled in his past life, he hadn't felt this utterly hopeless. Yet fate seemed to delight in cruel jokes. His father, the emperor, arranged his marriage to Xia Shiji just as Song Yunman left the capital. The rain poured down relentlessly. He skipped the palace to receive the decree and rode straight after the carriage heading for the Song residence. He wanted to ask her why, but she sat silently in the carriage, watching him, unwilling to draw near. After finally tricking her into coming to him, she remained utterly resistant. Why? Why? Duan Changing asked himself over and over. Asked her. Why did she no longer love him? Why had she become so timid and weak in this lifetime? Her response was the account of her own fate from the previous life, told in her own words. Her mother had ordered her to be buried alive as a sacrificial offering. How cruel! How agonizing! Yet she spoke with such calm detachment, as if it were someone else's story. Duan Changing yearned to hold her close, but heaven would not allow it. His father urgently summoned him back to the palace. He told her to wait for him, but she gave no reply. At that moment, Duan Changing believed her heart had softened. But later, When he learned that Xie Shiji had remained indifferent despite knowing the second prince intended to frame him, and that his mother had been deposed, Duan Chongjing finally understood. Her heart was the most ruthless of all. Yes, she had always been ruthless. In his past life, she had exacted revenge on every single person who had wronged him. Given how he and his mother had treated her then, it was only natural she held a grudge. He believed he could win this time, that he could bring her back to the capital. Duan Chongjing had envisioned their wedding. This life would be grand, more magnificent than before. This time, he would grant her the status of his rightful wife, vowing to grow old together with her. But they had no this life together. This time, the victor was still the sixth prince, the son of a lowly palace maid. I said I'd make her wishes come true. Anyone who stands in her way deserves to die. When Duan Changye pressed his sword against his throat and spoke these words, Duan Chongjing finally understood. He had never truly known Song Yunman. She never craved power. She entered the palace only for him. Now that she wished to leave, no one could hold her back. In the final moment before death, one always recalls the memories they cherish most. Duan Chongjing recalled his past life. Even with crippled legs in that life, he still had her. Spending every day together, bickering daily, listening to her scoldings, sipping the locust blossom honey she made for him, watching her practice swordplay amidst dancing apricot blossoms, admiring flowers in spring, listening to snowfall in winter. Those days weren't so unbearable after all. He longed to return to that past life. At least then, she still loved him. But he would never have that chance again. His days of wandering were pleasant, occasionally bringing news from the capital. Nothing extraordinary. The empress was deposed. Xie Shiji fell from grace and was punished. The emperor passed away and the sixth prince ascended the throne. Duan Chongjing offended the new emperor, was imprisoned, and died in despair. Everything unfolded as expected. I wasn't particularly surprised. Upon hearing these events, father and mother expressed relief that our family had long since distanced ourselves from the capital's turmoil, allowing us to wander mountains and rivers in leisurely ease. Though they always insisted peace and health were paramount, they inevitably began fretting over my marriage prospects. Xiao Man, they said, it's time you considered your future. Indeed, they added, we cannot care for you forever. I don't want to, I replied. I wish to stay with you longer. Father and mother exchanged a knowing smile. Father even teased, keep staying, and you'll become an old maid no one wants. Mother, look at father. I laughed, playfully tattling. Amidst the laughter and conversation at the inn, news of Duan Changye reached us. The sage emperor had reigned for only 2 years before passing away, leaving no heir. His younger brother had seized the opportunity. I heard the sage was in his prime. Could it be he died from overwork? Seems being a sage isn't easy either. Hearing this, my heart felt complicated. After all, he saved my life, and his closeness to me wasn't driven by ulterior motives. Could it be that in my past life, he too met such a short end? Everyone, the shop is full. Would you mind sharing a table for dinner? Just as I was lost in thought, I turned and met his gaze. Unlike my memories of him, Duan Changye was smiling now, meeting the stunned expressions on our 3 faces. His smile remained easy. Being a sage is no easy task. A carefree knight-errant suits me better. I nervously sipped my tea. Your Highness, why did you decide to travel too? Didn't you say that day I'd also get my wish? This is my wish. Duan Changye, the side story. Duan Changye had kept someone hidden in his heart for many years, simply because, during his darkest days, she was the only one willing to extend a hand to him. Back then, he was still very young. Because his birth mother had been a palace maid, The emperor paid him little mind, leaving him vulnerable to everyone's bullying. It was she who stood in front of him, forbidding anyone from tormenting him. It was also she who gave him the pastries bestowed by the emperor. Yet for many years afterward, she never entered the palace again. Duan Changye only knew her name was Song Yunman, the cherished daughter of General Song. He saw her again later in the imperial study, where she was delivering soup to the eldest imperial brother. Xia Shiji extended her foot to trip her. Duan Changye intended to intervene, but realized Song Yunnan knew exactly what was happening. She deliberately stumbled, spilling the soup all over the eldest imperial brother. That day, Duan Changye felt a strange joy, not because he particularly disliked the eldest brother, but because rumors had circulated that Song Yunman harbored feelings for him. Today, it became clear those rumors were false. After gaining free access to the palace gates, he often went near the Song residence to watch her secretly. But Duan Changye dared not approach. His intuition told him Song Yunman wished to remain untouched by anything connected to the palace. Later, she accompanied Minister Song on a military campaign and saved the eldest prince. Everyone declared she was destined to marry him. But Duan Changye refused to believe it, for she still found every excuse to avoid meeting the eldest prince. Until the autumn hunt, he appeared before her once more, shielding her beneath his body. Song Yunman was taken aback, her gaze upon him filled with unfamiliarity. In that moment, Duan Changye's heart ached so deeply he forgot the pain in his shoulder. As they fled the wolves, they shared a single horse. The cool wind brushed their faces, carrying her scent right to him. How Duan Changye wished time could freeze right then, if only to hear the voice within her heart. Fearing his injuries were severe, Song Yunman tried to bandage his wounds. He pulled away. He dreaded the gruesome sight of his gash might frighten her. He feared his blood was too filthy, might soil her hands. But she didn't mind, insisting on dressing his wound. Yes, she didn't mind. When her warm fingertips touched him, his heart raced. If time could freeze at this very moment, it wouldn't be impossible. After the autumn hunt, she vanished again. She hid away in the mansion day after day, rarely venturing out. Later, Duan Changye learned that Minister Song had resigned his post, and his family was preparing to move. Duan Changing came to stop the carriage. He had arrived first, but he knew she didn't want to be disturbed. Duan Changing was truly detestable, touching her with his filthy hands and calling her Yunman. Unable to bear it any longer, he stepped forward and drove the man away. Then, summoning his courage, he exchanged a few words with her. She said he would get his wish, but she never asked what his wish was. Duan Changye only wished for her happiness, that none of the vile creatures in the capital would ever trouble her. He succeeded. The Empress, Duan Changeng, Xia Shiji, and that old monster, all dealt with. Then he rode southward across the land, searching for her. Perhaps from the weariness of the journey, Duan Changye was plagued by nightmares. He dreamed of Song Yunman desperately in love with Duan Changeng, insisting on marrying him. He thought she would be happy, but Duan Changeng was foolish enough to be framed, making her a laughingstock. Duan Changye uncovered the masterminds behind it, the second prince and Xia Shiji. So he exposed the second prince's embezzlement of disaster relief funds. As for Xia Shiji, Duan Changye married her for two reasons: to keep tabs on her and prevent further schemes against Yunman, and to torment her daily by feeding her slow-acting poison, making her wish she were dead. He intended for Yunman to wait for him, wait until he ascended the throne and annulled her marriage to Duan Changeng. Then, in the days to come, she could marry him. Of course, she needn't marry him if she didn't want to. Whatever pleased her was acceptable. But she never got that chance. Duan Changeng took his own life, and the Empress ordered her to be buried with him. When Duan Changye arrived, He found only her lifeless body, her fingertips still warm and smeared with blood. This was the Empress's so-called voluntary burial. He held her all night, meticulously wiping away the bloodstains, then placed her favorite jade hairpin in her hair. Duan Changye asked her to wait for him just a little longer until he had slain all who had wronged her, so they could walk the path of reincarnation together. Thankfully, dreams are the opposite of reality. Song Yinman sat safely before him, unharmed. She was surprised by his appearance, yet her eyes held no disdain. This was the best possible beginning. She even asked why he too wished to travel the world. What else could there be? To be with her was his heart's desire. The end.